Hi there guys, what's good? So today I wanted to make a video about the natural limit. So this is the second video treating of the subject, and basically I wanted to reinforce my opinion and add a few precisions, because it's never easy to explain the natural limit, because that is something that we usually not really talk about in the fitness industry. It's, I think, a subject that is starting to really be covered a bit more in depth by a few natural bodybuilding channels. And so I got a comment or two when I did the natural limit video. There are different ways to basically explain if there is a natural limit or not. I wanted to make this point today. I think indeed there is a natural limit, because of, if you look at it the biological way, at some point you will, because of your age, your testosterone is gonna go down, and so obviously at some point there is a limit, in a sense that you'll have to start maintaining, and then muscle size, you're gonna have to fight to keep it. But until this point, there is not a full stop. That's what I want to say by the natural limit. There is no full stop, like, oh, you've reached the natural limit, like nothing is possible anymore. It's more like you can improve until this age limit where it really starts decreasing. You can always improve, and it really gets also harder over time. So in my last video I was basically saying that because it gets harder, people don't have the time basically to invest more time into gymming to keep improving, and that's why it slows down so much that they call it the natural limit. But in reality, if you're like just living in the gym all the time, training 3 hours a day, you realize that you can still improve fast even after 5 or 6 or 7 years. But the more you train and the more you want to progress, the more time you have to invest in the practice basically. And so at some point it becomes almost impossible to do this much, because you just live in the gym basically. So that's why no one talks about the natural limit basically the way I do in this video and some other natural bodybuilders talk about, because it's rare to have people basically who've trained like naturally to actually see that there is no such thing as the natural limit. But if you're gonna train this much at the same time, it really takes off other things that you might want to do. So it really has, bodybuilding really has to be a passion, or something you want to make a living out of, if you're really gonna spend this much time in the gym. And if you do that, you will realize that there is no natural limit. It just gets slower and slower. You have to invest more time in the gym. That's really the only reason. Until then, you're gonna improve, and there won't be any full stop, as in there is natural limit, it all stops. No, you will improve until indefinitely, until you're 35, 40, and then you'll basically have to fight to keep this muscle mass. That's also, in my opinion, why there is so much misinformation. Unfortunately, it's because most of the mainstream, people who will train, going to the gym for fun, there are more people that do this than people who take it very seriously. And so when you go to the gym, there is so much misinformation, because you interact most of the time with people who aren't really specialized, and they're just here to have fun, but they still give their advice. So that's the issue. That's why we hear so much about the natural limit, because most of the natural bodybuilders, they're never gonna want to basically test the water and go see if there is a natural limit or not. They'll just train hard for a lot of people, but they won't go to these extreme levels, or like training very hard to actually see how far they can go. So they will say to other people that they meet in the gym that, oh, you're reaching your natural limit now, etc., etc., and this contributes to the mainstream misinformation that we see, unfortunately. So I would say it's better to listen to people who have really tried to work very hard in a specific field, and listen to them rather than the mainstream. And unfortunately, that's something I really see in the fitness industry, is that people are good at making themselves look at professionals. So we see it, people in the fitness industry with massive channels, where they look very confident in the way they're talking, in the way they're teaching, and they're pretty good at what they do, but they're still giving quite a lot of misinformation, but they look like someone you should listen to. And that's why we've got basically a fitness industry that is quite messed up. So at least that's what I try to do with this channel. In my field of expertise and what I know so far, I try to, give the best advice possible. And there will be a lot of things where I just don't know anything. But when it comes to training, etc., I think I know quite a lot. And this will really be the goal of the channel, basically to help natural bodybuilders who want to, generally improve the fastest way possible, and basically not have to face this terrible misinformation. And the natural limit is something that can basically take people away from their true potential, because when you hear this 20 times when you go to the gym, your local gym, well, it's just a bit frustrating. You're like, what's the point of giving it 100% if at some point there will be a full stop and there will be this natural limit? Well, no, that's not something that you want to hear. So that's really one of the goals of the channel. Now I wanted to answer a question from a subscriber. So I wanted also to make the second video because I saw there was a question regarding the natural limit. So the question was basically, what is your opinion on bodybuilding in the age 40-50? Is it different from 16-40? Because that is, to my opinion, the reason that all the big roid bodybuilders market natural limit and testosterone replacement. So first, thank you for commenting on the channel and the nice comments you've been leaving. So my opinion on this one is that I think that there will always be people trying to obviously spoil the fitness industry, and that this could be a good argument for these people to actually sell people TRT replacement, and also using the natural limit argument to tempt people to start doing TRT or steroids. We see it quite often, but then I'd say it's not even just these people who are targeting with the natural limit, etc. Like I said, it's also just the mainstream natural bodybuilders themselves who go to the gym who think there is a natural limit. But definitely, yeah, I think a lot of people who take products, like steroids, SARMs, etc., have themselves considered there was a natural limit and decided because of that to go on steroids, because they either wanted to go further because they're really passionate about the sport and they don't really care about taking steroids as long as they can get bigger, or these people just didn't see the true potential they had naturally and they thought it was all over for them, and they jumped on steroids. And so they were going to say the same thing to people afterwards, and that if they reach the natural limit because they believe there is a natural limit, then that maybe taking stuff would be good for them if they want to go past this natural limit. So yeah, in my opinion, this happens a lot. People targeting other people, saying that there is a natural limit, so they should maybe take products, so these malevolent people can actually make income from that. And I would say that some people are not even within the fitness industry, but they just know that there is profit to make there, and so they're gonna actually market this natural limit thing and make money from it. Now, I wanted to point out that from 16 to 40, I think that obviously building muscle is easier when you're young because of testosterone levels that you have naturally when you're young, and that obviously 40 to 50 is gonna be harder. Now, what I think is that you can improve from 16 years old to 40 years old, and then from the 40 to 50 years old period, you're basically going to enter this phase where it gets harder to make gains. So you're going to enter this phase where it's more trying to maintain what you've acquired. And when you get to 60, 70 years old, where you're really trying to maintain what you've gained, but unfortunately it's decreasing. Now, if you've never gymmed from 16 to 40 and you started at 40 years old, obviously you're going to still be able to progress a lot and make a lot of gains. So see it this way, from 16 to 40, you basically have already built the most you could. You had to make the most potential out of your journey, and then you're gonna try to maintain from 40 to 70. But if you're someone who's never gymmed from 16 to 40, then it's like starting when you're 40. So you're starting with levels of testosterone which aren't the greatest, but you will still be able to get a very good level. So I think when you're talking about the 16 to 40 and 40 to 50, you were more talking about the natural limit market and people that are malevolent trying to sell stuff. But I just wanted to make this point for other people that from 16 to 40 there is obviously more room to improve, and then it's more trying to maintain. And if you've never gymed before and you're starting at 40 years old, then people who say you can't build muscle past 40 are wrong. You can still make great gains. Obviously better to start early, but better start than never. So that's my opinion. Last point I want to make about this video about TRT is that I don't think it's a safe medical therapy, or it could be in some cases obviously a solution, in cases where there is really something that you gotta do, levels are way too low, there is a massive problem, and naturally I guess people who take steroids and have issues, well, usually they'll have to stay in replacement therapy all their life. This happens a lot. So, what happens if you've never taken steroids and you definitely have a huge problem with your testosterone levels? Then that makes more sense to me to go on TRT in that case, if you'd rather live this way and have TRT. But for those who are just basically getting old and don't basically want to age, they want to keep feeling like they were when they were 30 or 20, well, in this case I think it's more, it can't really be healthy. I think as soon as you try to basically take benefits quite easily of something, there will be negative returns. So of course you can be quite lucky and at your 50s decide to take TRT and everything will be good and you won't shorten your life at all. You're doing the same basically life as you would have done without TRT. In some cases, who knows, maybe this joy that it brings you to your life even helps you living longer than if you had not taken it. But in my opinion, the most likely is that you're gonna trade a few years of your life to feel better. This is usually the case. I don't think testosterone replacement therapy is very healthy. It's more of a casino game, Russian roulette, where you don't really know if you're gonna be the one that will suffer from TRT or not. It's like the steroid game. Bodybuilders, some people last for much longer than others. If you have sleeping diseases that were there before and that you take TRT and you're in your 50s, then it can go pretty quick the other way around, because you get your testosterone and so you feel better, but your organs they're still feeling this extra testosterone that you're not supposed to have, and you could be waking up cancer cells and stuff like this. So it can go very quick. So I think it's really a choice when you're old of wanting to basically live like you're 20 when you're 50 in terms of testosterone levels, and then you're taking responsibility for the negativity that it could bring. But people that said that we're sure testosterone replacement therapy is healthy, in my opinion, are wrong. There is not enough proof yet to say that. So that was my opinion on TRT as well. So I hope that you guys enjoyed this video about the natural limit and TRT basically thoughts. I'm not saying that I'm right, I might be wrong. It's not totally my field of expertise talking about TRT and stuff, but that's at least what I think at the moment. So feel free to leave some comments down below, and I will see you next time.